Hey folks, Jay here with First Direct Corp with another video presentation for you. Today I'm going to be presenting a application I wrote to integrate your GoldMine with Constant Contact with your GoldMine, however you want to word it. Um, a lot of people today are using Constant Contact. It's a pretty popular email platform for sending newsletter, promotional emails, etc., and managing your subscriber lists. Constant Contact will manage the unsubscribes and hard bounces, etc., for you. And they also have a pretty nice design library. If you're not an email designer, they have a pretty nice WYSIWYG editor to be able to create your own. So to get started, let me go ahead and log into my Constant Contact account. This is a free trial that I just recently signed up for. I really don't have much in here, so first thing I want to show you is my contacts list. There is really nothing in here. There's one record, and that's the record I used to sign up for this free trial. I see here I have 56 days left, so this is not a full-time production. I'm just using this for the demonstration purposes for today. But first thing I need to do is I need to get records from my GoldMine into my Constant Contact, right? I want to use Constant Contact to send to my GoldMine leads. How do I go about getting those leads into my Constant Contact from GoldMine? So I'm going to go over here to my GoldMine. Uh, well, let me exit that. I don't need that. Here we are. So in my GoldMine, you'll notice I have a bunch of groups. And groups in GoldMine are lists of contacts in your GoldMine. There are several ways to go about building lists or groups in GoldMine. There are several ways to build those groups. You can build a group from a filter. You could run a SQL query, which is a little bit more advanced way to get and segment and filter your data in GoldMine. But basically, you can take the results of a SQL query or the results of a filter and add and create those and create a group from that list or from those results. A filter is not a list of anything. A filter is the logic that's applied to the database. So it might be a field is equal to certain value. Well, that doesn't give you a list of records. The filter is the logic that's used to build a filter or and activate records in GoldMine. Whereas a group is actually a list of records, right? I have a group called leads, and there are 1,659 leads in that leads list. An SYK list. I have an SYK group called with 3,212 contact records that are associated to that group. So again, groups in GoldMine are lists, and that's why we're using our groups in our integrations to be able to upload contacts from a list or from a group in GoldMine to Constant Contact. Um, I have a group out here. I've got a couple of them, so I'm going to go over to my integration tool now. I'm going to show you my integration tool. I'm logged into Constant Contact, but now I have this app. I have a web app, self-hosted web app that I've written to integrate my GoldMine with my Constant Contact. So I'm out here on my self-hosted web app. I'm going to log into it, and you'll notice the first thing I can do is I can subscribe GoldMine contacts to Constant Contact email lists. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to choose my list in Constant Contact. Well, I only have one list right now. That list is called General Interest. So this is going out and pulling my General Interest list. If I had other lists here, I'm going to create a list up here. I'm going to go create a list, call this newsletter. So maybe I have a newsletter list. Go ahead and save that. Now I have two lists, a general interest list and I have a newsletter list. So you can have as many different lists. Obviously, if I go back over to my API and I'm just going to go back and refresh this, if I reload this because I have to reload the data, you'll see now I now have newsletter. So I'm pulling that list from my Constant Contact account. Um, I can go out. I'm going to select the user from my GoldMine. So this is making a call to my GoldMine database and giving me a list of all the users in my GoldMine database. So I'm going to choose my username. And here you'll see here's a list of all my groups. I'm going to choose just my group. I have a group called J, and there is literally one record in that, that is one record. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look up here, J, there is one record in Goldmine. That is basically my record in Goldmine. But within this record in Goldmine, there are many different emails. There are lots of different emails that I have associated with that record in Goldmine. So it's not necessarily one email, it's one record. I can show the primary contact, which is going to be the primary record, and one email, right? The primary email. That will always return one email for every contact in that group. If I want to choose the additional contacts, I can go ahead and show those. So I have obviously my wife and myself inside this email address. Now, if I want to choose all the other emails, so I might have a whole bunch of other emails that are associated with my primary contact record. I can go ahead and show all those. And you can see now I have up to 22 emails associated with that one account. Over here, you can see A is for additional, O is for other. And as you get through there, if you get to the bottom, you'll see P is for primary. So I've indicated whether it's an other, a O, or a P, etc. in this type column over here. So I can even limit these. I don't know if I have any merge codes. I don't, but you can limit each one of these to a specific merge code. So what I'll do is I'll go into my GoldMine and on my primary email address, I'm going to give myself a merge code. A merge code in GoldMine is a way of ideally putting an email address on a list. So your merge codes in GoldMine are your lists. And we have a merge code called Z99. We use that in our marketing, and that's kind of like our general email marketing list, Z99. Don't ask why, but that's what it is. So now if I go ahead and show, and if I say, hey, I want all the additional Z99 and all the others with Z99, right? If I go to show this, well, it should ideally just return one, right? Because there's only one email address in my entire contact record that has a merge code of Z99. I could ideally limit this to title. Like if I wanted to say, hey, title is CEO or president or marketing director or something like that, I could limit this filtering later on I could do that here. But let me show you another thing that I can do. I'm going to go ahead and get all the contacts. Maybe I want to search for developer. So if I do a search for developer, I'm now going to get all my emails associated with my contact record. Why? Because these are all the emails associated with me. If I'm looking for a particular, president or CEO or something like that, I know my wife is in here. For instance, if I do a search for wife, my wife is showing up, right? So there's a way to search within the entire table. There is even a way I could modify this where I could search within each specific column or row of information here, the company. If I want to search for a specific company value, like if the company contained the word, a particular industry, maybe I have an industry field here and I want all the records in a specific industry. But again, we're dealing with emails, so we need to be able to target specific emails. So that's why I'm using merge codes because that's how GoldMine handles things in the GoldMine world. We use merge codes. Well, enough about that. I obviously want to upload records. So I'm just going to go click Show Contacts again. I want to upload this contact, my email address, to my Zoho. So I click on that, and upload is done. So now if I go ahead and refresh my record, you'll see now I have two. I have two people subscribed. I have just added myself as a subscriber. You see, March 14th. Today is March 14th. I've added myself. And you see, it was added by another app, right? So it was added by another app, ideally by me. Now, I've got myself, I could have easily uploaded 500. I could have done 1,000. I could have done. I think the max is now 20,000. It used to be 40,000, but I believe now it's 20,000. I just saw that in their API. In other words, a total upload. You can't upload more than 20,000 contacts at a single upload. So one thing you want to make sure is if your groups that you're uploading, you want to make sure that you're uploading no more than 20,000 email addresses or contacts at one time. So you may need to segment your groups or throttle your uploads to 20,000 contacts if you're doing that much. It may be easier or better if you have that many 20, 30, 40,000, 50,000 to just do an export out of GoldMine to a CSV file and do a manual import. You can certainly import records doing a manual CSV file import. So there's a way to do that through Constant Contact. We can get you an export list. But this is a nice tool to be able to upload fairly easily a list of groups. Also realize that I could have somebody who's not in Goldmine logged in and using this app to upload contacts from my Goldmine. So they may not be a user of my Goldmine. They may be a marketing person that I want to have do my constant contact campaigns for me. And I can instruct them to say, hey, upload from user J the group called leads and upload all the primaries, right? I can give that user some instructions on what to pull and upload from my Goldmine. And they can do that periodically. So as you're adding records from into Goldmine, you can pull new leads further on down the road. All right. So obviously now I've got a group. I've got my my newsletter. I've got my people subscribed. Well, now what I want to do is I want to send an email. So I just before I started making this video, a few minutes before I started making this sample email template. So I've got this thing called March newsletter. It's just a sample email that I used using Constant Contacts Designer. I put some basic content in here. What will do is I think there's a link down here. So there's a link to my website down there. So I'm not going to add a link, but this is going to go out and put in all my unsubscribed information. So I'm going to go ahead and uh, continue on. I can send this to everybody in my newsletter and general interest. I want to send it to my newsletter because that was my first direct email account. And this is going to come from here, some from here, and I'm just going to hit send now, see what happens. Okay, my email will be sent shortly. I can obviously go look at that link online. Let's go look at my app now. What I need to do now is start to download my campaign results. So over here in my next option, again, back at my app, I can upload and now I can download campaign results. I don't believe I have a campaign yet because it hasn't been sent. So I'm just going to continue to refresh this. There it is, March newsletter, just showed up. And the first thing you'll notice here, once I've selected that March newsletter, here are all the people I sent that email to. I sent it to one person, but if I had sent this to 500 or 1,000 or 4,000 or 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, whatever, I'd see all those people here in this table, in this little data table here. And I can process those sends. So I can say, hey, for everybody that I've sent this through, go ahead and put that data in GoldMine. Well, what does it do? Well, it's going to go find this email address in GoldMine. I'm going to go ahead and process that. Sends data, send detail created successfully for JDirect. I have no opens, I have no unsubscribes, I have no clicks, and I have no bounces. Well, because I haven't opened it and clicked on it. So let's go check my email. I just heard that I have an email come in. Let me just see what happened here. That's spam, 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 spam. Don't need that. I'm looking for that email, hoping that that email came in. There it is. You don't want to miss this. Here's that email. So I'm going to open it. So now I've theoretically opened that email. I'm going to click on a link. And just to show you the unsubscribes, I'm going to go click on the unsubscribe and unsubscribe. So I basically, and I can say, hey, I never signed up for your emails, right? Or other reason, the content is not what I expected, right? I can give a reason. Cool. Let's go back to my campaign report. I'm going to reload this, go back and download my campaign results to see if the opens have come in. So yeah, there's the open. It's telling me what device, the date and time that I opened it. There's the unsubscribe, so I click it, and there's the reason why I selected the content is not expected. And there's my click. I had actually clicked on a link and did it. Now, obviously, there's no bounces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go process my opens. I'm going to go process my unsubscribes. And this is basically what you do. You'd click on each tab. You'd get a list of all the clicks, opens, unsubscribes, and process those clicks. Let's go look at my record in GoldMine. So I'm on my record. What this is basically doing is in this constant contact tab, I am putting this data in a custom tab. It's a detail. All this stuff is a detailed constant contact. So I have all this constant contact data coming from constant contact. But what I've done is I've made this its own tab in GoldMine. And there's a way to take a detail and say, hey, take that specific detail and show it on its own tab. So way over here on my right, I'll put it here in the middle. You see here, I have this CNST, CNTCT, constant contact. That word can only be so many letters, so I shortened it. But here's my March newsletter, and you can see there's the send, there's me opening it, there's me clicking on a link, and there's me opting out. All that data is now in GoldMine. And again, I'm putting this in a custom detail because I don't want to clutter my history tab. I don't want to see in the history tab when I look at a record, open, click, 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 send, open, open. I don't want to see all that in the history tab. I want to see it over here on its own tab, out of the way. So if I need to see only my constant contact details, I can come in here and do it. And at some point, if I decide that I don't need a particular campaign anymore, right, something I sent a year or two ago, I can easily just delete the stuff related to those sends. These are stuff that I was testing previously. Yesterday and earlier last week, I was doing some testing. This was using a secondary account that I have. But that account was a free trial, and I can't send anymore. So that's why I signed up for this new free trial. I had to create a new free trial. So that's why you're seeing March newsletter. But these are campaigns that I've done in other free trials that I've had. So here, that's basically what this campaign integration does, right? It takes your Goldmine contacts and it puts it in Constant Contact for you, and it takes the data from Constant Contact when people send, when you opt out, when people open, when people clicked, if people's email bounces. Now, when the email bounces, it will remove the email as well. It'll actually create a history of the fact that the email bounced, delete the email from the record, and put a history entry. So in the history, you'd see email deleted, constant contact bounce, and it'll say, and in the history, like you're seeing over here, it'll say the email, the reason why it was deleted, etc. Because that email had bounced through constant contact. You're not going to be able to send to that. So it's going to clean up your gold mine as well. And that's all happens when you click on those links in that custom app, right? So let's say you send a campaign out. I sent that campaign out just a few minutes ago, and I immediately started interacting with it. Ideally, what I would suggest is, you're not probably going to want to start doing it right away, but the next day, a day or two later, you're going to have your marketing person come into this app. They're going to log in and say, hey, I need the March newsletter. I need to pull those results into Goldman. I want to process the sends. I want to process the opens. I want to process the unsubscribes and the clicks and the bounces. You can decide, hey, I only want to process bounces, unsubscribes, and clicks, right? I don't care if I sent an email to them. I don't want to put that stuff in my Goldman. So you can pick and choose what gets processed. You don't have to process all of it. It's at your discretion. And the other part of this is because this is a custom app, we can customize exactly how you want to process the data. Ideally, yes, we're creating a send tracking detail in Goldmine, right? Ideally, we're creating a fact that the email was opened and clicked, but if they click a link, maybe I want to schedule a call in Goldmine for an assigned sales rep, right? So we can have some workflow logic that handles that, right? If there's an assigned rep and they've clicked a link, schedule a call. If they've opted out, update the email address. Maybe I don't want to remove the email from Goldmine, but maybe I want to add something to the notes that says unsubscribe. And in that instance, if their notes of the email has the word unsubscribe in it, when I'm uploading my lists, right, when I'm choosing my lists, only give me the lists in my Goldmine that have that where the email does not have the word unsubscribe in the notes. So say, yes, go ahead and give me all the records from this group I have in Goldmine, but only give me the ones whose emails have not unsubscribed, right? I wouldn't want to re-upload someone who's already unsubscribed from a constant contact campaign, right? I wouldn't want to do that. So all that logic can be built in. It's how you want to have it handled, right? Do you want to have it scheduled a call? How do you want to have an unsubscribe handled? Do you want to track opens? Do you want to track subscribes? So it's a custom app. It's written specifically for most cases, most contacts, most customers' needs. I've had a couple of customers using it for their constant contact, but again, in each case, those systems have been kind of modified from what you see here, especially with the uploading of contacts. I had one customer that wanted to not filter by merge codes because they weren't using merge codes. They wanted to filter by a title here. So, as I mentioned earlier, I can make this a title, and you type in, I want all the title contains the word CEO or president or marketer or something like that. So that is my integration for today. If you are using Constant Contact and you find yourself struggling with keeping your Constant Contact and your Goldmine in sync, or managing the uploading of contacts from Goldmine to Constant Contact, this is an app that could potentially save you lots of time and energy and effort and headache. If you're interested, please do give us a call at First Direct, 845-221-3800. Thank you.